fall in love. I don't care about you and him. I don't care about what has been. I only care about your soft skin, cause we're still sleeping in my head. I don't care about you and him. I don't care about what has been. I only care about your soft skin, cause we're still sleeping in my head.
Hey, hello, I'm JulieJo. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to look at logical fallacies, and we're going to use an example, a personal example that I recently had. I guess personal discussion. Not personal. It's going to be public now. But I am going to cover the person's name. It's between myself and someone in a multi-level marketing company. If you want to see where it all came from, because I'm not going to explain much of it. I'm going to explain like briefly what went on. But if you want to see that, I have a video up here to watch, and a live. You can watch both of those and then come back, or you can just watch this and then go watch both of those. This is mostly focused on actual logical fallacies and showing that through our conversation. It's actually a really wild conversation, and I think it's entertaining too, so I think you will like it. Feel free to obviously leave your commentary below. I love to read what you all have to say. I know that I posted this on Instagram, like our conversation on Instagram, but so some of you recognize it. And if you do and you've read it already, great. We're going to talk about the logical fallacies in it and what that person was doing and the manipulation that they were doing in those messages. You can also see how I speak to people in multi-level marketing companies who have such cognitive dissonance that they're the point where it's a cult, and they're also conspiracy theorists. So this is going to be super interesting, I think. I know that looking up logical fallacies, reading through them, and reading at different things, researching it pretty much, was pretty cool to see all the different ones and how people use them. So we are going to go through the logical fallacies that there are. I have 15 here. We're going to briefly go through them. It's not very long, and maybe you can see in your life like where you've done them, or where someone's done them to you, or if someone currently like using logical fallacies in your conversations when you have arguments. I recommend looking them up yourself. I will put links in the description of where I am reading from and just researched these different things from. So let's go ahead and get started, and we're gonna just look at the fallacies, and we're just gonna go quickly through them. So there are different types of logical fallacies, but logical fallacies in general are flawed, deceptive, or false arguments that can be proven wrong with reasoning. Logic. These are the most common fallacies you should know about. Okay, so here is a picture of the different logical fallacies that there are. The most prevalent ones. This shows 15 of them, and we're gonna go from the first one all the way through the last one. The first one's ad hominem. If you've been a part of this genre when it comes to anti-multi-level marketing or anti-scam in general, you've probably heard ad hominem a lot when we have talked about it in videos. So ad hominem fallacy uses personal attacks rather than logic. This fallacy occurs when someone rejects or criticizes another point of view based on their personal characteristics, ethnic background, physical appearance, or other non-relevant traits of the person who holds it. Ad hominem arguments are often used in politics, where they're called mudslinging. They are considered unethical because politicians can use them to manipulate voters' opinions against an opponent without addressing the core issue. So for an example, I recently had this little boy. He is someone who thinks he is high up in the MLM world. He's not. I don't even know if he's in an MLM. He's a real estate agent, and he was fired as a cop twice, I think. But he recently attacked me with ad hominems, calling me fat, saying that he said a lot more than that, but that's just an example. Like, instead of him refuting what I was saying, which he couldn't, he decided just to call me names and call me fat and all of that stuff. That is an ad hominem attack. So it occurs when someone rejects or criticizes another point of view based on personal characteristics. Saying this person can't actually refute what you're doing, but just trying to hurt your feelings so that you'll give up on the conversation, or because they don't know how to handle their emotions, which is what it seemed like for him, and because he wanted me to give up, which I'm still here, bud. So that is one example, and I feel like we've all had this experience with ad hominem attacks. Let's move on to the next one. Strawman. It's straw man, but strawman is kind of how I say it. It sounds like ramen. With the strawman fallacy, you might have heard me talk about it before if you watched videos. Other people who do anti-scam, cult videos, and plenty more people who do debates and whatnot. They probably have talked about strawman fallacies, also known as strawman arguments. The strawman argument attacks a different subject rather than the topic being discussed, often a more extreme version of the counter argument. The purpose of this misdirection is to make one's position look stronger than it actually is. The strawman argument is appropriately named after a harmless, lifeless scarecrow, not crow. Instead of contending with the actual argument, they attack the equivalent of a lifeless bundle of straw, an easily defeated puppet that the opponent was never arguing in the first place. For example, when it comes to a strawman fallacy, and you're going to see it in the messages for sure, let's say you're having a discussion about, I don't know, oranges, and y'all are having an argument over an orange, but this person goes, but the plate is ridiculous. Why is that plate there? What's going on with this plate? Because at that point, they feel as though they might not have anything else to say about the orange. They don't know how to refute what you said. They probably lost the argument. And so with taking this to the plate, saying the plate you chose was awful, but really the discussion is about the orange, they're trying to continue the argument, acting as though they haven't necessarily failed or lost the argument, and that's just not what the argument was about in the first place. So again, it attacks a different subject rather than the topic being discussed. The next one is appeal to ignorance. An appeal to ignorance, also known as an argument from ignorance, argues that a proposition must be true because it has not been proven false or there is no evidence against it. The argument that can be used to bolster multiple contradictory conclusions at once, such as the following two claims. No one has ever been able to prove that extraterrestrials exist, so they must not be real. Or no one has ever been able to prove that extraterrestrials do not exist, so they must be real. Those are some great examples. Obviously, just because they haven't been able to prove something doesn't mean it's not real, because there's not proper evidence for it. It says at the end, because it's not been proven false or there's no evidence against it. An appeal to ignorance doesn't prove anything. Instead, it shifts the need for proof away from the person making a claim. Next is false dilemma or false dichotomy. A false dilemma or false dichotomy presents limited options, typically by focusing on two extremes, when in fact, more possibilities exist. The phrase, America, love it or leave it, do you like my accent? Is an example of a false dilemma, because you don't have to completely love it or leave it, you can not like it. There's many options. You can love parts of it and not some of it. You can hate most of it and like a little bit. It's pretty straightforward. The false dilemma fallacy is a manipulative tool designed to polarize the audience, promoting one side and demonizing another. It's common in political discourse as a way of strong-arming the public into supporting controversial legislation or policies. In my opinion, this is what has happened with the far right, and by far right, I don't mean just Republican. I mean like QAnon conspiracy theorists, Trump, all of those people who said like, there's a lot that I probably shouldn't go into it. I don't want YouTube to be like, hey, you can't talk about that. Anyway, it's pretty straightforward. Either you love me or you hate me. That's a good example. Next one is a slippery slope. A slippery slope argument assumes that a certain course of action will necessarily lead to a chain of future events. The slippery slope fallacy takes a benign premise or starting point and suggests that it will lead to unlikely or ridiculous outcomes with no supporting evidence. You must have used this fallacy on your parents as a teenager, or you may have, is what they say. But, and I quote, "But you have to let me go to the party. If I don't go to the party, I'll be a loser with no friends. Next thing you know, I'll end up alone and jobless living in your basement when I'm 30. Obviously, that's not necessarily true. It's a slippery slope fallacy. Let's move on to the next one, which is called a circular argument. I feel like I wrote this way in school multiple times, probably for papers like high school, middle school, Circular arguments occur when a person's argument repeats what they already assumed before without arriving at a new conclusion. For example, if someone says, according to my brain is reliable. That's a circular argument. Circular arguments often use a claim as both a premise and a conclusion. This fallacy only appears to be an argument when, in fact, it's just restating one's assumption. Hasty generalization is next. A hasty generalization is a claim based on few examples rather than substantial proof. Arguments based on hasty generalizations often don't hold up due to lack of supporting evidence. The claim might be true in one case, but that doesn't mean it's always true. There's definitely some hasty generalization, I think, in the entire situation that has happened with some of these MLM Huns in Green Compass. Hasty generalizations are common in arguments because there's a wide range of what's acceptable for sufficient evidence. The rules for evidence can change based on the claim you're making and the environment where you are making it, whether it's rooted in philosophy, the sciences, a political debate, or discussing house rules for using the kitchen. An example: people nowadays only vote with their emotions instead of their brains. That's a hasty generalization. That's not always true. It's pretty straightforward. Red herring. A red herring is an argument that uses confusion or distraction to shift attention away from a topic and toward a false conclusion. Red herrings usually contain an unimportant fact, idea, or event that has little relevance to the real issue. Red herrings are a common diversionary tactic when someone wants to shift the focus from an argument to something easier or safer to address, but red herrings can also be unintentional. Next one is appeal to hypocrisy. I think this one's a great one. An appeal to hypocrisy focuses on the hypocrisy of an opponent. It deflects criticism away from oneself by accusing the other person of the same problem or something comparable. The appeal to hypocrisy fallacy is an attempt to divert blame. The fallacy usually occurs when the arguer uses apparent hypocrisy to neutralize criticism and distract from the issue. So, for example, but Dad, I know you smoked when you were my age, so how can you tell me not to do it? The appeal to hypocrisy, right? You're being hypocritical telling me not to do this when my age, you did this. We are almost finished, but casual fallacies are informal fallacies that occur when an argument incorrectly concludes that a cause is related to an effect. Think of a casual fallacy as a parent category for all other fallacies about unproven causes. One example is that false cause fallacy, which is when you draw a conclusion about what the cause was without enough evidence to do so. Another is a post hoc fallacy, which is when you mistake something for the cause because it came first, not because it actually caused the effect. For example, it says, every time a rooster crows, the sun comes up. Crows must be the creators of the universe. I mean, obviously it's not true, but that is just a casual fallacy. Or like they said, post hoc fallacy or false cause fallacy. I know there's 3 that mean that, but you know what I mean. The next, which we talk about a lot in MLMs, sunk cost fallacy. A sunk cost fallacy is when someone continues to do something because of the effort they already put in it, regardless of whether the additional costs outweigh the potential benefits. Sunk cost is an economic term for any past expenses that can no longer be recovered. For example, imagine that after watching the first 6 episodes of a TV show, you decide the show isn't for you. Those 6 episodes are your sunk cost. A sunk cost fallacy would be deciding to finish watching anyway because you've already invested roughly 6 hours of your life into it. That's what happens a lot in MLMs. It's the same idea that you've been in this MLM for 6 months, you've been pushing. You kind of realize I haven't been making money. Maybe it's not for me, but you put so much effort into it already and so much money into it already. You're like, I might as well keep going to see if I can make money or, something like that. For an example, that's not MLM related. This says, I know this relationship isn't working anymore and that we're both miserable. No marriage, no kids, no steady job, but I've been with him for 7 years, so I'd better just stay with him. The next one is appeal to authority. Appeal to authority is the misuse of an authority's opinion to support an argument. While an authority's opinion can represent evidence and data, it becomes a fallacy if their expertise or authority is overstated, illegitimate, or irrelevant to the topic. For example, citing a foot doctor when trying to prove something related to psychiatry would be an appeal to authority fallacy. The next one is equivocation. Equivocation happens when a word, phrase, or sentence is used deliberately to confuse, deceive, or mislead. In other words, saying one thing but meaning another. When it's poetic or comical, we call this a play on words. But when it's done in a political speech, an ethics debate, or an economics report, and it's designed to make the audience think you're saying something you're not, then it becomes a fallacy. We're almost done. 2 more. Appeal to pity. This is one I see with MLMs all the time. We'll go over it, and there is some of this as well in those messages. An appeal to pity relies on provoking your emotions to win an argument rather than factual evidence. Like when they call us bullies or haters, or that that we're really mean and blah, blah, blah. When in reality, we're not. We're literally just saying, hey, this is not good. Like, don't do this. This is a bad idea, using facts and data. But to other people, to people in their downline, they're going to appeal to pity. They're going to say, this person has been awful to me. This person is shaming me. This person's blah, blah, blah. It's not actually what's happening. Appealing to pity attempts to pull on an audience's heartstrings, distract them, and support their point of view. Someone accused of a crime uses a cane or a walker to appear more feeble in front of a jury is one example of appeal to pity. The appearance of disability isn't an argument on the merits of the case, but it's intended to sway the jury's opinion anyway. So instead of talking about like what we said and refuting what we say, they're going to make their downline and people following them think that we're horrible monsters and that we are just attacking them, when in reality, we're just using facts to talk about it. The last one is bandwagon fallacy. The bandwagon fallacy assumes something is true or right or good because others agree with it. In other words, the fallacy argues that if everyone thinks a certain way, then you should too. One problem with this kind of reasoning is that the broad acceptance of a claim or action doesn't mean that it's factually justified. People can be mistaken, confused, deceived, or even willfully irrational in their opinions, so using them to make an argument is flawed. And those are the fallacies. I am now going to go over the messages with you. This is really interesting. I will say trigger warning. There's transphobia. There's conspiracy theorist conversation. It's kind of a lot. I'm going to be honest. Of course, manipulation, all that good stuff. So let's get started. So this was maybe Thursday morning. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to say Thursday. At 8:33 a.m., I did not see this message. They said, hello, what's your formal educational background? I didn't see it, but I also didn't tell her. And it's really funny because my background is I'm about to graduate as a medical professional, and I have a master's degree in theology and ministry. I have a bachelor's degree in cross-cultural studies and and a minor in Christian education. And if she knew that, I think she would have gone about this differently. You'll see why. I think this is hilarious. So I didn't answer because I didn't see it. And then she replied to one of my stories, and I guess that's why I saw it. I was also at clinical, so busy. So the story talks about free speech. That's why I talked about free speech. And she says, free speech is one of our constitutional amendments. You should refresh yourself with our rights as sovereign human beings. And I don't know if I already said it. I don't think I have, but freedom of speech in the United States, I literally Wikipedia'd it. Freedom of speech, also called free speech, means the free and public expression of opinions without censorship, interference, and restraint by the government. It's not like you can just say whatever and not have consequences in general. It's just you can say your opinions, you can talk shit about an opponent or whatever and not have a restraint by the government. But like when it comes to people in general, we all have free speech. So if you get to shame someone, I get to say, hey, that's bullshit, don't shame them. It's pretty straightforward. But freedom of speech, the First Amendment is focusing on you having free speech and not being censored or restrained or interference by the government. It's like they don't even know what free speech is. Anyway, she says, free speech is one of our constitutional amendments. You should refresh yourself with our rights as sovereign human beings. Sovereign human beings was a red flag. I'm like, what the hell are you? Stop this now. That's my red flag, by the way. So that was that. I said, what? LOL. I'm sorry. I gotta be a little funny in this. She said, exactly. So I put some laughy faces because I still don't know what's going on. This person said, I understand defaming people gets your dick hard. Wait, are you a man or a woman? Let me refer to your pronouns since I'm unsure. Obviously, that is ad hominem fallacy. And we know, I've got my notebook right here. I wrote some of it down. And we know ad hominem is personal attacks rather than logic. So she just decided to attack me personally. And I just said, are you okay? It was kind of odd because then her whole demeanor changed. She said, oh, bless your heart. That's so sweet of you to ask. This is where it changed. Stop defaming my friend respectfully, which I thought that was weird that she said respectfully. I said, I'm not defaming anyone. I understand that you think that is what's happening, but by law, it's not. She said, what benefits are you receiving from attempting to delegitimize a medical educator? All right. Speaker, author, who's highly well-trained, well-versed in holistic medicine. The whole thing was, I'm actually not attempting to delegitimize what she's doing. I don't care. You do you. Now, I care about the MLM aspect of it, but CBD is fine. I have nothing against CBD. I have something against her saying, and I quote, this was her post. It's in quotations. Ready? This is someone talking, and then she says something below it. Quotations. Something like, let's normalize mental issues and meds. And she says, let's not. That's literally shaming people like myself who say, let's normalize this. Let's normalize the conversation. Why not? It's so stigmatized. So she said that. That's not even what I'm talking about. I said, I'm an anti-scam creator who is also a mental health advocate. The benefits are people telling me thanks for calling out her shameful posts about mental health. I mean, I also get paid on YouTube, but I would do it either way. She says, she wasn't shaming. She's being an educator and educating her audience. No, she was shaming. But again, she said, just like you educate your audience, does she publicly try to shame you? No, she lets you do you, and she will continue to do her. What you're doing is despicable and ugly. So what she's saying is what I'm doing is despicable and ugly, but I think what that person's doing is despicable and ugly. I think this might go with a red herring, which is an argument that uses confusion or distraction to shift attention away from a topic and toward a false conclusion. So she's talking about how, educated this person is, and the whole conversation, the whole point of everything is not that she's not educated. I don't care about that. What I care about is her shaming people. Does she publicly try to shame you? Actually, that post is publicly trying to shame people like me who believe that normalizing the conversation around mental health and medications for mental health is important and really helps others. I've gotten hundreds of comments since my last video, which really I don't even think is an overstatement, saying thank you for talking about this. It took me forever to take the mental health medications. When I finally did, it changed my life. I simply said, I think what she's doing is despicable and ugly. She said, I just think it's sad people do this to one another. The world is already hard enough. Why not just be kind? I said, I think what she's doing is despicable and ugly. Simple. I just think it's sad people do this to one another, she says. The world is already hard enough. Why not just be kind? I see this flip-flop of be kind when she started off the conversation with me, trying to get my credentials because she doesn't think I have them, which, smiley face, eat me. And number two, did I say number one? I don't know. Number two, she was not kind. Her conversation started with her asking me if I was a man, a woman, that it gets my dick hard, different stuff like that, which shows her transphobia. So it's quite interesting and very extremely hypocritical for her to say, why not just be kind? Yeah, good question. Why not just be kind? That's my question for her. So I think what she's doing is despicable. She says, fair enough. That's an interesting comment because she just validated what I said. Fair enough. You think that what she's doing is despicable and ugly? Yeah. She says, but to make a YouTube video? Come on, girl. Don't you have a productive life that doesn't involve trying to tear people down? Again, there's that idea that what we're doing, that accountability for doing something shitty as hell is tearing people down. If you fucking can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. If you can't take a response, then don't do it. I've had to learn this the hard way. When I call out people in MLMs, there have been some people who have been horrible, disgusting, and I actually have had to use the law for some of it because they overstepped that boundary. But I have to deal with it. I have to be okay. They have a right to respond. If, I have a right to say something, they have a right to respond. It's that simple. And that's the deal here. She said, I know you must be better than that. I think she's trying to manipulate me, saying, I'm girl, come on. Why don't we just be friends, chillax? Women should support women. And if you disagree, do it respectfully, trying to be nice, and she thinks that this is the best way to have a conversation with me because she knows I've been straightforward, to the point, level-headed, and so she's trying to do the same thing here. But that all changes in the next moment, I swear. I said, if she didn't post that post and calling it garbage in the comments, my video would not be up. That's actually like really straightforward, right? I said, like you said, the world is hard enough. And even if she didn't mean it, which I think she did, her post did shame people. She said, what's wrong with that approach? So I find this super interesting because she said, fair enough, to when I said, I think what she's doing is despicable and ugly. What's wrong with that approach? Complete 180 from our conversation. Obviously, we know what's wrong with that approach. I think that a lot of this also is an appeal to hypocrisy, like we talked about, shifts and deflects criticism away from that situation by accusing me of doing the same thing or worse. So she's being super hypocritical here. She said, fair enough, but make a YouTube video about it. So in that one section, she says, fair enough. She understands why it's despicable and ugly, but why did I have to make a YouTube video about it? And then she goes, what's wrong with that? Why are you taking such offense to get dropping facts? I don't know what happened here, but she said, what are you taking such offense to get dropping facts? That's her platform. She wasn't targeting you, yet you targeted her. What are you taking such offense to get dropping facts? I think I know what she means. Why are you taking such offense when she's dropping facts? One, I don't think those are facts. Actually, it's not even a fact thought. Like saying, let's not normalize those. That's an opinion. Shitty at that, but an opinion nonetheless. And it is about shaming people when doing that. That's her platform. It is, but that doesn't mean that she's not going to be held accountable and that she doesn't have consequences for the horrible things that she says. She wasn't targeting you. Actually, she was when she said that. Why? Because she limited comments to only followers. That's it. That's one reason that she knew that it wasn't good. But she was targeting me because I'm someone who actually stands up for the exact opposite. The things that she says we should not normalize. She said, yet you targeted her. I didn't target her at all. I said what she did was complete shit. I didn't tell people to go after her. I didn't target her in any way, shape, or form like that. I made a video showing what this person said. She's also a top leader in MLM, so I talked about Green Compass as well in that. And said, do not listen to people like this. This is not okay. This is wrong type of thing. And just making sure people know, because I actually had some people from that post in her comments who'd never known me before message me and say, I can't believe she said that. Like, I've never known you until like I saw your comment. So I went and watched your YouTube video. It was great. Like, I completely agree. So, I mean, yeah, I didn't target her. I mean, it's straightforward. I'm going to go on a tangent if I don't stop. I said, it's literally my job to call out scams and shitty things people do. Because it is. I thoroughly enjoy it. I agree that women should support women. Why would she say something like that if she wants to support them? My goal here is to continue to have logic throughout the entire conversation. So with this, I am showing, hey, you say women should support women, then why would you say something like that? Because that doesn't support women. That literally is shaming an entire section of people, a pretty large section of people. She says, this isn't about women, but wasn't it? Didn't you just say women should support women? So we're changing it again. We're moving to a different argument than the main argument, which is still what she said. And then I was responding to what she said. She said, this is about the scam of Big Pharma. We're changing it to a different argument. She's trying to change it, trying to confuse, trying to distract. Again, that is not the argument at hand. She said, why aren't you calling them out? Strawman fallacy. Boom, bam, instantly. Strawman fallacy says, it attacks a different subject rather than the topic being discussed. Honestly, strawman and red herring is a lot alike. I've got to read the two differences now because I feel like those are too much alike in my brain. Okay, so strawman fallacy. A strawman argument attacks a different subject rather than the topic being discussed, often a more extreme version of the counter argument. This specifically is a strawman because it's like, oh, you're saying that she shouldn't say that. Why don't you go after Big Pharma instead? They're worse. That's like saying, and I've had this told to me before, you're talking about MLMs and stuff. If you're going to talk about that, then why don't you talk about human trafficking? Boom, strawman, right then and there. The purpose of this is to misdirect, to make one's position look stronger than it actually is. Saying like, also virtue signaling, you should do whatever human trafficking. Not MLMs, that's ridiculous. You should do this. Of course, that person's in an MLM, so they would rather me, they want me to look like, I don't know, they want to make their position look stronger because they want to make me feel bad. I'm not talking about human trafficking. Bro, that's not what I'm good at. I don't want to talk about human trafficking because if we all talked about human trafficking, then no one would be talking about this. Okay, now I gotta look at red herring and make sure that I'm not mixing the two together. A red herring is an argument that uses confusion or distraction to shift attention away from a topic and toward a false conclusion. Red herrings usually contain an unimportant fact, idea, or event that has little relevance to the real issue. They're so much alike. Red herrings are a common diversionary tactic when someone wants to shift the focus on an argument to something easier or safer to address. I got it. The red herring, it's like, when your mom gets your phone bill and you have gone over the limit, and then you begin talking about how hard your math class is and how well you're doing in this to try to distract from the phone bill. It's the same thing with her going and talking about, I just think it's sad to do this to one another, right? Like, women should support women. And then it's strawman. This isn't about women. This is about big pharma. Why aren't you calling them out? That is a strawman, which is what I talked about before with human trafficking. This logical fallacy stuff's pretty difficult. I'm sure a lot of you can educate me on them as well in the comments. She was targeting anyone who believed that we should normalize being open about meds and mental health issues. That's what I said. She said, you created a job to hate. Are you a God-fearing woman? Bitch, I have a master's degree with it. Stop. I didn't tell her that though because I like to have that little giggle to myself, right? Like, she's saying this, but like, I literally know. No, I don't fear God, by the way. Because the devil has you by the nuts or the tits. I'm not sure. She said, I'm sorry, sure, but I think she said, I'm not sure. And you created a job to hate. Again, we're going back to this ad hominem, are you God-fearing woman because the devil has you by the nuts or the tits? I'm not sure. I said, it's just straight up. You are using logical fallacies to have this conversation, and that means there's no reason for me to continue it. I hear you, but it's just not correct because you are extremely biased towards her. So if she did something wrong, you still wouldn't believe it was wrong. And then I said, one little step further, I guess I decided I wanted to poke the beast. I don't know. So you believe that all criticism is hate. And yet you just said Biden was a godless man when you know he's part of the Catholic Church. So she's pretty much saying that what I'm saying is hate and that any criticism, like, because I was criticizing what that woman said, and she's pretty much saying that it was hate. And I said, but you're criticizing Biden. Well, she's literally lying. That's like a lie. But I said, it's hypocritical of you to be saying that to me while also doing that yourself. She said, don't put word in my mouth. I guess I'm just reading it how I think she'd read it. You don't know who you're talking to. Biden is a satanic who drinks blood and tortures young children. I knew you were woke. That's exactly what I told Marlies. Marlies is the lady, I think. The devil got you, boo. We can end this conversation now. Devil sure does have me right by the nuts. God bless you and leave my friend alone. No, thank you. I don't want your blessings. What do you mean leave your friend alone? I've never not left her alone. I've just made a video about what she did was shitty. That's it. I've not even bothered her. She's the one that messaged me. Oh, I did comment on there. But like, it wasn't like a over comment. Like I was just commenting. And if she didn't respond, I would leave it alone. And she said, and if you're really about that life, come to Houston. Give me a shout. We'll show you how we roll. Not me getting threatened by a Q conspiracy theorist. I'm so scared. Now run along and go get carpal tunnel or trigger finger behind a computer. That's fair. That's fair. I am on the computer a lot. I'll pray for you. God wins. Don't worry, y'all. It's not over yet. Hey, hi. I'm in the middle of filming.
You look so cute with those earrings. And the braids.
Thanks. I'm in the middle of filming. Yeah. You did what I do to you sometimes.
That's true. I know. Wait, it's been a while because you've been at clinicals.
Yes.
I have to tell you something. Wait, can you guys... That looks very cute. Can you guys go again?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. I have to tell you this.
Okay.
So, apparently...
Stop. I can't talk about this right now. I'm filming. Okay, I can't talk about this right now. I've got to go. I've got to finish this, and then I'll FaceTime you, okay? Okay, bye.
Bye.
People are fucking nuts. Okay. I love her. She's my bestie. Okay, I said, let's get back to it before I lose my shit. I'm going to FaceTime Aaron right after this. I said, so you're a Q conspiracy theorist? What am I thinking? Am I poking the bear? Yes, I was. I said, so logic is definitely not your thing. It all makes sense. Okay, bye. I'm so funny sometimes. Such an idiot. She says, realist. A realist, babe? You literally said Biden's a satanic pedophile who drinks blood and tortures young children. That's not a realist to me. She says, huge difference. Bye, boo. Like hissy face. I said, nope, lol, incorrect. She said, I'm not trying to be a dick. We have differences, and that's perfectly okay. Y'all, I laughed out loud. I said, okay, bye. But before I stopped, I said, in quotations, I'm not trying to be a dick. More quotations. Ask me if I'm a man or a woman and makes fun of pronouns. She said, yup. She said, you're a woman. Are you confused about your gender? But babe, I thought you were confused about me this whole time. You said nuts or tits. I'm not sure. So you knew it all along. You were just being a jerk? I'm just being sarcastic, obviously. God made you a woman. I said, again, this is a logical fallacy. That's not my point of that comment, and you know it. She said, I'm done with you. Walking on Lexapro. You spelled it wrong. And then I posted our conversation in Tag Green Compass, and she put a clown and a laughy face, and I put, I'm a clown, and then put the clown face, and then she blocked me. What do you think? It was lots of fun. That's how I talk to these people. I make sure to not get into their logical fallacies, because the purpose of them is to upset us, distract us from the present conversation, from the point of the conversation. They love strawman fallacies. They love red herrings. They love ad hominem attacks. They love the pity fallacy. Which one is pity fallacy? Which one is the pity one again? Appeal to pity. They love to appeal to pity, not to us. Well, sometimes to us, but also to like other people who aren't necessarily like pro MLM or anti MLM, but like the in between, who don't know much, and then also the pro MLM people, like their downline, so that they don't look like they're scammers, which they are. Okay. So what do you think about that conversation? I thought it was a blast. I was like, oh, this is so fun. Because I was interested. I thought it was interesting in how she shifted. She would go to the extreme to level-headed, but I knew it was a manipulative tactic because she knew that I was going to stay level-headed. So she didn't, want to go wild, and then I'm going to be level-headed through the entire conversation. She tried to, get on my level, manipulate the fact that she literally made fun of trans people at the beginning. I'm okay if you think I'm trans. I don't take that offensively. I do take your transphobia offensively, but anywho, all that to say, that was the video. That was the video. I'm not great at spotting logical fallacies, all of them right off the bat. And I ad hominem, strawman, I have for the most part, but red herring, I guess I'm getting confused a little bit with the strawman fallacy. So yeah. Thank you for watching, and even if I messed up, I appreciate it. I think we need to have more conversations about logical fallacies and how they're used when speaking to people in multi-level marketing companies, and honestly, when speaking to someone that disagrees with us anyway. I think it's important, because sometimes, I get confused in a conversation or, an argument, and I'm like, what's going on? I don't understand. But, once I started educating myself, and I was like, oh, okay, so what they're doing is they're trying to distract me or trying to hurt my feelings or, something using a fallacy. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and like and follow my TikTok and my Instagram. I am walking_on_Lexapro. I forgot to say that in the beginning. And leave a comment. Be a member if you want. And I hope you have the most amazing morning, afternoon, evening, and night, wherever you are in the world and whenever you're watching. I forgot no, never mind, I didn't. I'll see you next time.
Show you what I'm all about. Make up for what we lost. Tonight is the night that we come. what has been. I only care about yours.